Hi, everybody. Welcome. Sorry about that terrible music. sounded
I was
urgent, but it
actually
all
going into it.
Sounded like we were freaking Star Wars.
sounded like we were at like a club in New York in like 1962, waiting for something very bad to happen. It was a terrible flashback, but let's get to it. Welcome to the program. My name is Dean. Kind of a special report today, replacing the FiveStack with an all-star panel of people who have been indicted, people who have indicted other people. and, and of course, in light of what happened to James Comey today, political prosecution, political persecution, freedom of speech. We'll get to all of that stuff. Joining us today, the panel to talk about the Comey indictment. Please welcome former state senator and lawyer extraordinaire, Mr. David Aronberg. Ladies and gentlemen, David Aronberg. Nice to see you, David. You got the Substack going today. That's really good. That's
yes,
nice.
and former state attorney for Palm Beach County.
Oh, so you'll be able to weigh in today, which is really nice.
Oh.
We were looking for a legal mind, and not to take anything away from Michael Cohen, venerated lawyer, former Trump fixer, Trump lawyer. And we're going to talk with Michael, because Michael, you have been indicted by the same DOJ that just indicted Mr. James Comey, as has the person underneath you, your good friend, Mr. Lev Parnas. So we have a wealth of experience in joining us as well. My FiveStack live partner, Mr. Zev Shalev from narrative.org. So let's start with you, David, and we can just kind of free flow. I wrote a piece about a story that we did today after we did our first Substack Live. The weapon is the same, but the targets have seemed to kind of change when it comes to, Trump's universe and who he's going after and why.
Good to be with you, Dean. Well, what makes this so different is that we've never really crossed the Rubicon before. Let me pull my camera out a little bit since I see my forehead's being cut off. How about that? Is that better? Is that better?
While Dave is doing, I just gave a little, Dave is also my attorney. So just for a disclosure here, just so we have a little disclosure besides.
You don't have to pay for this, do you?
Good question, Dean.
Good question, Dean.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later, Lev.
Dean, you an asshole.
It's been said before. Yes, the Rubicon, yeah. David. Let's get back to that before Michael calls me more names. Yeah.
Yes, we have broken the seal, because never before have we had such a blatantly political prosecution. I know the Republicans will say, well, this is just what the Democrats said. No, you've never seen a Democratic president, especially not Joe Biden, message his attorney general and demand that a certain person be prosecuted, an enemy of his, and then fire the U.S. attorney who resists, and then hire someone with no prosecutorial experience. And when they have to go to court, no career prosecutor will show up in court to do the indictment because no one else believes in this and thinks there's enough evidence, which forces the political appointee with no prosecutorial experience to go in there alone. So this has never happened before. And if you think that Merrick Garland is somehow akin to a political figure within the Biden administration, are you kidding me? You mean the same Merrick Garland who refused to prosecute Matt Gaetz, the same Merrick Garland who prosecuted Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and the same prosecutor who refused to act on all the cases like January 6th, and then finally appointed a special prosecutor, Jack Smith, to avoid any appearance of politics. This is like night and day.
Okay. So this is political persecution, is what you're saying. I think if I'm picking up what you're laying down, there's nothing, this is precedent setting. This is historic. It is a kangaroo court, but it is a very fucking serious charge, right? Like, he just got indicted today, and he was indicted by a grand jury. And, Michael and Lev really laid out what that looks like on the back end. But at the same time, James Comey now has the full weight of this government, whether or not you consider them legitimate or not, whether or not they're a cacistocracy or not, whether or not Miss Halligan is a seasoned veteran lawyer, which she is not. James Comey has to be concerned at this point, even though he pled not guilty, and even though he said he's got 5 motions he's going to put forward, and he's going to ask the judge to basically bail on these charges because they're bullshit.
I can't get into James Comey's head, but I really believe he feels very confident. If I were in his shoes, I would think the chances of this thing even going to trial are small, and getting a conviction, I mean, almost impossible. I would say impossible. I've read everything about this case, and the big question is, what are the facts behind the charge? We still don't know. We still don't know, I think, in part because I think the DOJ isn't totally sure how they're going to prove this case. Is it because of what Andrew McCabe said? Well, he didn't say what is being put out there. Like, he's not the one who said that James Comey authorized a leak. In fact, he said the opposite. He said that he's the one who authorized a leak, and James Comey just shrugged his shoulders afterwards. That's not authorizing a leak. Was it Daniel Richman that leaked the stuff? Well, he did leak stuff, but it wasn't authorized by James Comey. In fact, Daniel Richman told the FBI that James Comey never told him to leak. So where are they going to get James Comey authorizing someone at the FBI to leak stuff about the Clinton investigation or the Trump investigation? I'm still waiting because I haven't seen it.
So here, I'm gonna jump in on that a little bit, Dave, because being somebody that's been part of that prosecution system, and you could attest to now being on both sides, first being a prosecutor, now being a defense attorney, is when you prosecute somebody, there's things called holding charges, and that's one of the things. Just like what happened in my case, they needed to, because of what was happening. Bill Barr needed to arrest me, needed to shut me up quickly before I could testify in front of Congress, because the charges that I was originally indicted under, I mean, and charged with, was not the charges that I actually then went to trial with and got found guilty of. Because then there's a thing that, which we all know, is called superseding indictments. But what it did allow them to do, and what I'm hearing from my sources is, and that's why Trump did such a push, was he pushed because of the time period. The statute of limitation was running out, and he needed something. He, first of all, he needed a show. He needed to make this whole thing play out. But what he also has done right now, not only has he put James Comey in a position where he's going to spend money, he's going to spend time, and he is dealing with a serious situation, but he's also now opened up a clock for now the Trump DOJ, because it's not a regular DOJ, it's not the regular FBI. You have now the Trump DOJ that is now that is going to look into things, and there's we live in a life where sometimes the way the laws are made, like especially tax laws, other laws, where you could look at it one way or another way, and it's a definition of how you as a prosecutor want to perceive it, and how a jury looks at it later on. So what I'm saying to you, and what me and Michael talk about as two people that have been prosecuted and gone through the system, is that if they really want to, and without even being corrupt, but as corrupt as this administration is, and this DOJ is, and as weaponized as they are, I believe, and I'm starting to agree with Michael more and more, that James Comey is going to probably end up going through some stuff, because they're not done with them. There's other things that I think they're going to supersede and come out, and I think we haven't seen it. I think this is just the beginning of the situation, plus other players, as we spoke about, that I think are coming down the line, indictments very soon.
There's an old expression that this country, we are a country of laws with no justice. And I'm a firm believer in that. Everybody knows the old adage, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, they indicted James Comey. So today he is the ham sandwich. And in furtherance of what Lev said, there is definitively going to be superseding indictments in this case. There's no doubt in my mind. And I think that what will ultimately happen, I was talking about on our Substack earlier today, how I had filed this FOIA request. And Dave, you know all about it. We've spoken about it at length and wrote about it in my book. I initially asked under FOIA for all documents related to, and I specifically laid it out. And they returned a response that there's no documents relevant to your request. Well, somehow or another, I had 4 documents. Maybe I got them during the times I was testifying, but I had 4. So I gave it to an attorney. He filed suit, attached the documents. Next thing you know, miraculously, there's 486,000 documents. which goes back to the earliest of times, meaning the Steele dossier, when James Comey was involved. And I believe that if you take a look at those 486,000 documents, I believe if you turn around and you start digging into James Comey's life, whether he thinks he's a Boy Scout or a choir boy, nobody is. There's a book that I remember reading when I was in Otisville called Five Felonies a Day by Harvey Westglade. When this country wants you, when the Department of Justice wants you, doesn't make a difference whether or not the average person would turn around and say, how could you possibly? I was charged with tax evasion. I've never in my life filed a late tax return. I have never in my life asked for a request for an extension until that 2017 year. I had paid my taxes as whatever my CPA told me. I never hid monies. Every dollar was in either Capital One or TD or Signature Bank. Every document was given to my CPA in an organized 3-ring notebook that was tabulated. There was no hiding of assets or anything. Yet they charged me with tax. There was an error, which, by the way, I paid it. In fact, I never even received a letter from the IRS ever that turns around and says, hey, Mr. Cohen, we think that there's a mistake. The same way that they handle everybody else, they didn't handle me. So, in furtherance of what Lev just said, it's only a matter of time until they find that one issue or two or three, or it could be even more. And I believe, and I said it on MSNBC, and I said it on my Substack with Lev and Malcolm, and I've said on my podcast with you, Dave, not too long ago, when you fight this government, especially this Trump DOJ, and we saw Pam Bondi yesterday in full force, when we saw just before that Kash Patel, right? Rest assured, James Comey, they will find some impropriety, they will find something, and they will prosecute him on it.
Michael, I think that's such an important point you're making, because it's interesting that this is about Hillary Clinton. It's not about Trump Russia. The arraignments and the charges are about Hillary, which gives them an opportunity to sort of investigate everything that Comey knew about Hillary Clinton and the lies and all of that stuff, but less of an opportunity to tackle Trump. And Dave, I'm dying to hear your thoughts on that.
I find it fascinating that Trump cares so much about Comey's investigation into Hillary Clinton. Do you remember when Comey was first fired? Remember the ostensible reason for the termination? The Trump administration said it was because of Comey's behavior during the Clinton investigation, during the Hillary Clinton email investigation. And we all knew that was bogus, because if anything, Trump should be sending Comey a gift basket for what he did during the Hillary Clinton email investigation. It was nothing to do with that. That was their ruse. What it was Comey's role in instigating the Russia investigation, what he did with Mike Flynn. And so now we're seeing some of the same thing. Wow, we care so much about how you may have lied relating to the Hillary Clinton email investigation. They don't care about that. They just want to ring up Comey. I agree with Michael and Lev on that. This is designed to go after a single individual for being an enemy of Trump. Trump hates him. This is retribution. Trump campaigned on it. I mean, it's very clear. That's why I think this charge will be thrown out as vindictive prosecution before it ever hits a jury. Now, whether they will come up with other stuff about Comey that is unrelated to the stuff we're seeing now, I don't know. And we should talk about that if that happens. But I can just tell you, do the bet where I will bet you that this charge against Comey is going nowhere. It will not result in a conviction.
I agree with you. Well, I agree 100%. And that's why I called it a holding charge, because now it's given until January 5th to continue doing what they're doing, and the time is running. And I agree that this particular
So they have till January 5th to find as much shit as they possibly can on James Comey?
Well, no.
No, that's the trial.
That's the trial date.
Oh, so how does the process work? Explain it to people who haven't been indicted.
Comey invoked what's called speedy trials. Smart.
Yeah.
Comey felt the same way as Lev and Michael Cohen. They said, let's get this on. Let's get this to trial right away, because then they're stuck. They can't, because Fifth Amendment rights against double jeopardy. So this thing is not going to be belabored. They're not going to have 2 years to try to dig up dirt on Comey. They've got until close to the trial. Even at some point before the trial, that there's a cutoff date. You're not going to be able to do a superseding indictment. And so Comey is putting them to the test. Smart move by his defense team.
But also, I wanted to
go ahead, Lev.
What I was going to say too, what we were talking about also, and what Dave talks about, and very important is in a normal world, in a normal DOJ, in a normal situation, a lot of these things are hard, and this is how it goes. But we're dealing right now with a very, very corrupt, weaponized DOJ that is working for one man and one man only. And to answer also the question why they're going after the Clinton stuff and everything, because as I talk about all the time, it's part of rewriting the history, because in any dictatorship, in any authoritarianship, you need to rewrite the history. That's what they're rewriting, why they're going to go after Chris Wray, because they need to rewrite January 6th, so it wasn't an insurrection by the MAGA Trump supporters, but it was a deep state.
So anyone that legitimized that whole J6 thing. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. That's why he's doing that. That's why they're still trying to go over the Clintons. They're going to try to show that the 2020 election was stolen. All of these things that he keeps reiterating are part of, and this is part of not only just the retribution tour, but it's also part of rewriting history for him to come out looking clean as a whistle and others to blame.
Fascinating, because it's, he'll go after people like you and Michael, and obviously he went after people like you and Michael because to put some daylight between him and you and Michael was really important at a time when you guys were doing what you were doing. James Comey and everybody associated with January 6th, everybody associated with his impeachment, and you heard Pam Bondi say it yesterday, who sounded like a used car saleswoman, where she was being pressed and she just kept firing back saying, when are you going to apologize for impeaching the president? This is a full-scale attempt to change reality and change history, like he did at the Smithsonian, where he said, hey, take that January 6th display down because we don't want anything to do with it. We want to be able to rewrite history. And David, I would ask—
the photos, by the way, take down the photos of slavery as well, and put back up the statues of people like Robert E. Lee, which, is insulting to, it's insulting to, to decency. Lev is 100% correct here. All right. This is a hold. That's all that this is. It's a hold. I believe that Comey has dirty hands as it relates to the Russia hoax. And I believe that's really what it is that they will ultimately get him on. Yeah, he walked around the Capitol with his badge, pretending to be almost like a politician. He acted in ways, my opinion, that will ultimately come back to bite him in the ass. Remember, think about whatever the charge, Lev's charge, my charge, campaign finance violation. Lev's was $2,500. Okay? $2,500. Generally, what happens if there's a mistake in a payment to a campaign? They send the money back, right? I mean, the mistake isn't on you. The mistake is on the campaign. And when they find it, they ultimately return it. Okay. Mine was associated to the payment made pursuant to the non-disclosure agreement to Stormy Daniels. I mean, who goes to prison for paying somebody? Usually you go to prison for taking money from somebody. I mean,
not paying,
I mean, let's be real about it. We Michael, can go on and on and talk about the various different charges that don't make sense. I assure you, James Comey, like everybody else, everybody that's with us right now, just stop for 2 seconds and think. Have I done something in the last 2-3 years that maybe could put me into some form of trouble if in fact the government wanted to kick your ass? And the answer is most probably everybody, if you're honest to yourself, say, yeah, if they catch that, right? Well, I assure you, this FBI, this DOJ, all of the prosecutors who are basically now being tasked, find something. I don't give a fuck if it's a jaywalking. ticket, right? It makes no difference. You find something, and we're going to use that like an anvil and drop it on his head from the top of the bridge.
Well, I'll give you even another one. And David, I wanted to ask you because I know you don't have a lot of time. I wanted to ask you this because
David's in
remember
private practice now. He's got nothing but time.
Yeah, and you're paying for it, so let's go.
I pay for it. No, but
just bill it to Lev. Who gives a shit? After he threw me under the fucking bus, double bill him.
I love you guys. Who needs enemies when you got friends like this? I love these guys. No, but I'm just saying to you, just think about during the McCarthy era, right? We didn't know what was going on until during the the FBI era back in the days when they were weaponizing, spying on people and tapping phones and doing all that. We didn't know that stuff was going on until after because it's called history. That's why we found out. That's what I want to say. Like, we have no idea to what and this is what I always tell all our viewers or all our subscribers, all the people out there. It's the scary part is not what we're seeing. So it's what we're not seeing.
We don't see
really playing. Exactly. So just think about if what we're talking about right now, where in plain sight, you have the president of the United States going out there and just putting out a message on Truth Social and saying, Pam, I want you to go and indict Comey. And she goes indicts Comey. The prosecutor then all of a sudden says, no, I can't do that. A Republican prosecutor says, can't do that. There's nothing there. He says, I'm going to fire you and put in my personal lawyer. I mean, it's all playing out in front of our eyes. And this is like, if anybody would have thought about this 6 months, a year ago, you would have said, we're crazy. Never happened. Never in America. That's Russia, China, somewhere else. But it's happening and it's in plain sight. Tell me the things that could be going on. Just think about it without. What's to say Kash Patel is not tapping all of our phones right now? And then they're planning on going after, like Michael said, look at what you did. What was the last time you did a post, maybe a year ago, that was something bad about Donald Trump or Kash Patel? And then all of a sudden that's going to be turned into maybe a terrorism against the government. I mean, just think about the laws. We're actually killing people.
We might have lost Dave.
Oh, I think, Dave, maybe his internet.
Did we lose David?
Back.
I think we might have. But anyhow, let me just flip this around. Okay, we can do this way. No problem. Give me 1 second.
Keep going, Lev. Keep going. Sorry, you're flowing, and I love what you were saying because at this point, everybody on this call is Antifa, right? At this point, everybody on this call is a left wing fucking terrorist.
No,
because
no, I'm not Antifa. You guys are. I'm not. All right, let me be crystal clear. I am not Antifa, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to hire Lindsay Halligan. Miss Colorado, and she's going to prosecute James Comey, that big schmuck.
Yeah, so we are all Antifa, no matter how much you pretend you're not. And your fucking old boss's impression is absolutely nails, by the way.
I used to do that.
I think Dave,
when we were sitting across the desk.
There we go.
We
got Dave back.
Yeah.
Dave,
I want to get into those impressions in just a second. But David, your take. I mean, we're talking about there being there, but in an age where the Trump administration and the Trump regime have created there with executive orders about Antifa being a terrorist organization. The radical left needs to be taken out. Where we're in an age now where anti-Christian bias will net you some time in Alligator Alcatraz. It's NSPM 7, this new directive that has come out, which effectively paints, like I said, everybody on this call. Sorry to tell you this, Mr. Aronberg, but you're a member of Antifa now too. It really, we live in this weird fucking time, like in this weird fucking time that has dictated. Those two gentlemen at the top of the screen have gone to prison for a significant period of time. One is still under house arrest under conditions, and it has cost them hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Millions
of dollars. Sorry, boys. I hate hearing that. But like when you look at what James Comey is about to go through, obviously your legal opinion matters more than the opinion of some broadcaster in Substack Live or in Toronto. I can't see, and I take nothing away from what Lev and Michael have gone through and how they fought for their rights and their freedoms, and they're free today. I can't see James Comey going through a similar subset of issues. I don't know what's in his background, but it's almost like because of NSPM 7, because of this Antifa bullshit, and because Donald Trump is literally going after political enemies and literally putting emails to people like Pam Bondi and Truth Social saying, hey, you should fire all these people and you got to arrest James Comey and we're losing our reputation, da-da-da-da-da. There's no precedent for the time we're in, and I got to wonder if a guy like you with the legal mind, history, former prosecutor, state senator, looks at this and goes, well, we kind of got to throw out the book when it comes to the expectations of what we think will happen here, because on its face, a guy like James Comey is surrounding himself with the best legal minds in the world. He's still got lots of tentacles into the DOJ, and this thing goes away, right? But I don't, like, when you talk about passing the Rubicon, we're in a different world right now.
We are, and unfortunately, this will have to be my last answer because I've got to go bill some hours with some private clients. But let me answer your question, Dean. When it comes to crossing the Rubicon, it is troubling because there's an old saying that you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride, and that's what's going on here. It is expensive to go through this process. Michael and Lev can testify to that. But because Comey has requested speedy trial, this thing is going January 5th, it will decrease the cost too. This thing's not going to get strung out for a couple years unless Lev is right that this is purely a holding pattern where they're just using this time and for the next couple months to dig up as much dirt as they can. I think it's going to be hard. They've had years to dig up dirt on James Comey, and this is the best they got. What makes you think they're going to find new dirt that they didn't already know about before? Now, and I must say this, although I agree that this charge seems like a holding charge because it's so vague, we don't even know what they're referring to, they did have to take it to the grand jury and be more specific, and the grand jurors only indicted on 2 out of 3 counts. I know that sounds like it's a bad thing for Comey, but apparently many of the grand jurors wanted to reject both of these counts anyways. And when you're in a grand jury, it's not like you have defense lawyers punching back at you. And a grand jury, it's the prosecutors and it's their witnesses. There's not even a judge. There's no defense counsel. And so it's a one-sided argument. And if you can't get all your counts indicted, then it shows the weakness of your case.
David Aronberg.
David,
thank you.
Great to see you. We'll see you soon, brother.
Dave,
thanks, guys. Great to be on with you.
So Dean,
buddy.
And Lev, let me say this, and to Dave, hopefully he's still listening. Don't worry about going to Alligator Alcatraz. I've watched Swamp People. During my home confinement, I became an expert at tackling alligators and crocodiles. All right, what you do is you have to throw something over them and flip them upside down, and you hold the bottom of the chin up, and then you flip them over, and boom.
I gotta do it.
We'll be all right. Trust me, we'll be okay with Alligator Alcatraz. You don't have to worry about that.
But Michael, I'm actually really interested in what's going on in Comey's mind. I mean, when you take yourself back to that moment when you were indicted.
Yeah,
I mean, your world must have fallen apart.
I was never indicted.
Oh, you were never indicted.
Yeah,
no.
We all have to. This is the crazy part, Zev. All 3 of us, Comey,
my entire
Michael,
case
and
started
myself
and
are
finished.
all different.
Yeah, my case started and finished in 48 hours.
Wow.
And I was pushed to plead guilty, which I did. And I accepted what they call oh my God. Why am I blanking on the term? It's and I allocated to the charges that they claimed. I'm blanking on the freaking name. Anyway, we all, as Lev just said, we have very different types of cases, but I can certainly tell you what James Comey is thinking. When you first get that indictment, when the FBI first shows up to your house, I was like, hey, guys, you want a cup of coffee? Was sitting down, my wife and I, they were very kind. They really were. They were great. They didn't come in until after my son left for school, which was, very respectful. They did not trash the place at all. I mean, they stayed for hours. They looked through, they filmed, they videotaped everything and took photos of everything. But they were very, respectful of both the properties. And don't forget, they didn't get me just in the hotel that I was staying at because my neighbor flooded our apartment here in the city one of the problems with vertical, with vertical living. But they were also in my apartment, which was under construction. They took photos of everything in the safety deposit box, and they also went to my law office where they confiscated everything, my computers and documents and so on. Very, very different types of scenarios that we live in. But James Comey right now is facing reality. And the problem with what he's facing is much of it is in the unknown, right? You don't know what they have. You don't know what they don't have. And every fucking lawyer tells you the same thing. My lawyer did too during the 4.5 months. If they had something, they would take our call. They would meet with us, right? They would do something. But no, they didn't.
It
And
was the same
then
because
one
it was the
day,
same. It was
for
the
the
same
very first
prosecutions.
time that we heard from them, 5:30 p.m. on a Friday, my lawyer turns around and says, "You need to go in on Monday at 9 a.m. and plead guilty." We didn't even know what the fucking charges were at the time. So every lawyer whispers into your ear. It's almost like they get close and then they whisper you that sweet nothing. Everything's going to be fine. Did you send in your bill? Is the retainer there? Right? It's all a bunch of horse shit. And I don't care how good his lawyer is, and he's got a great lawyer. I forget what his name is, but I know who he is. He's an excellent lawyer.
DOJ guy.
Doesn't matter. Government is always bigger than you, and they're always stronger than you, and they can always outlast you.
Emotionally, though, what is it that day?
You're on mute.
Oh, am I on mute?
Oh no,
No,
I got him. I can hear him.
Okay.
I hear him.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
you-
ask you, can you hear me?
I don't
Michael?
hear you.
Oh, can you hear me, Michael? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can
No,
you hear
pop
me?
out and come back in again.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Yeah.
Well, let me ask
Yeah.
you the same question then. Talk about your day then of, finding out that
Well,
your world was going to be pulled,
Yeah.
the rug was being pulled out from underneath you.
Well, you gotta understand, we all come from different situations. Like Michael, when he went through it, he was still the attorney to the president. So when they raided him, it was a big deal, but they didn't go in there.
I'm not hearing
like,
anybody.
You gotta go in and out. Yeah,
Check.
yeah. Look at.
Just send him a
Michael, you have
text.
to. Yeah, you send him a text. You gotta pop in and
Yeah.
pop out, Michael. So basically, Michael was handled a little bit in the beginning with white gloves because until eventually they went after him and gave him the deal and either take the deal or leave. With me, it was different. With me, they needed to shut me up because Bill Barr needed to, the whole impeachment case was happening, and they tried to make sure that they get a fall guy. So my charges was originally when they arrested me, if those that remember, were not what's it called, election fraud or wire fraud, which eventually is what I went to prison for. My charges were espionage. My charges were, I was indicted, if you remember Berman coming out there and making the whole presentation. It was that I was working as a Russian spy, that I infiltrated, and I was giving money to Congressman one, who happens to be Congressman Pete Sessions, who sits on the oversight committee right now, and that he was co-conspirator one in my indictment, and it was blown up to such a degree that it was this big thing. So for the first week, I couldn't even see my lawyers. I had nothing. And then remember, then right after that, they gave me Trump's lawyers. Trump actually had his lawyers represent me, and part of the game plan was to shut up, keep quiet, and take the fall, and for me to look like the fall guy. So to me, it was a major shock. I was in prison from day one. I was in solitary confinement right off the bat for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Not knowing what was going on, what was happening, no outside world. I was tortured, not getting no sleep deprivation. I can't even tell you. And then after that, after finding out, when I finally got a chance to speak to my wife and finding out what Rudy was doing behind the scenes and everybody, and firing Trump's lawyers while I was still in prison. you guys got to remember another thing. Like I actually see people don't forget little things, but how crazy, to what degree, and how corrupt these people are. I was sitting in solitary confinement, and they slipped a note, a postcard underneath my door from the White House, from Rudy Giuliani, which I smuggled out. Just think about that, telling me to shut up, that I have great lawyers and Paul Manafort's lawyers, and don't worry, Paul only got 8.5. Everything's going to be okay. I mean, I have tapes of Rudy Giuliani butt dialing my attorney. If you remember when Rudy got raided, the reason why Rudy got raided, the Southern District never would have raided Rudy. They would have done, they had no choice, because what happened was Rudy butt dialed my attorney and forgot to hang up, and continued talking, saying that we have to get rid of these burner phones, because after we get off the phone with Lev's attorney and talking about how he needed $200,000 quickly.
He is
Rudy.
such an idiot.
Oh my God.
Fucking
Yeah.
Rudy. Rudy Colludi, drunken
Right.
Giuliani.
you can't make,
The guy
you can't
starts
make this shit up.
drinking at 9 o'clock in the
Oh
morning
my
his
God.
Chardonnay, and he starts at the Scotch by
Yeah.
3. By
So
7
just-
o'clock,
yeah.
he's shit faced. He's not just butt dialing; he's pissing himself,
Yeah.
asshole.
You
It
can't make this
explains
shit
the
up.
Four Seasons landscaping press conference, gentlemen.
No,
but
that and the shit flowing down the side of his head, right?
Yeah.
You can't
I mean,
make
you don't,
you-
Rudy, you don't use shoe polish on your scalp in the heat. It just doesn't work, right?
That-
You got
that
to
was his
put
girl-
a little
that-
base.
It worked till it
was
didn't.
different.
Yeah, it
That
has
was-
to
that
be
was-
below
that-
15
yeah.
degrees for that to work.
That was his girlfriend / assistant / whatever you want to call her, Maria. Yeah, but anyway, so we're all going through different, and Comey's going right now through a whole different situation. But at the end of the day, emotionally, right now, Comey, I think, has more to fear than Michael or myself at the time. I'll explain to you why. Because Michael doesn't come from that world of the DOJ, so he didn't think he did anything wrong. He was at the time the president's attorney. He had all the confidence until that moment when he realized they all turned on him, and when they told him, you got to take this deal. Then till then, it's not like he was some kind of criminal thinking, oh my God, I got caught. Same thing with me. At that moment when this was all happening, I was still thinking like, Trump's gonna come in, stop this shit. I'm not. I'm working for the president. I'm not working for the Russians. I'm not. He's sending me to Ukraine. Like, Rudy's godfather to my. I mean, like, this is the mindset until I realized that I was being set up as a fall guy. With Comey, it's different because Comey knows how the system works. He used to run the system. He used to be the guy that did this to people like me and Michael Cohen. Because a lot of people don't need to understand that the DOJ has always been weaponized. Just now, with the way it's being weaponized and the way we're seeing it in open side by Trump and an open view is one way. But prior to this, the DOJ was always weaponized, and because it's always run by human beings, not robots. And human beings have their own views on things and their way of looking at it. But before, it was done behind the scenes. It was done to try to make sure it doesn't get out. Now we're seeing it in full force. So Comey understands what me and Michael are talking about. Comey understands right now that this is not what they're going to put him away for. That's why Dave, could come out and say, yeah, Comey feels good. But Comey also understands that they are right now preparing, because remember, the one thing that the DOJ doesn't want to do is look bad. And if they've indicted you, they do not want this case to get thrown out. They're gonna do everything in their power to win, because now it's like the Super Bowl. See, that's
They
another
can't
thing people
afford.
don't.
You can afford to lose it.
They can't afford to lose, because then what happens to the Miles Taylors? What happens to the Tish James? What happens to the Alvin Braggs or to the John Boltons? Or the rest of the people on the list. Now, they are going to make him suffer. They will find something. They will find something that he did wrong, and they are going to throw the full weight of government against him. Lev is 1,000% right.
Michael, why did you say that you thought he had dirty hands? You said here earlier on in the conversation, you said that Comey has dirty hands. What did you mean by that? Can you hear me? Still can't hear us. Can you hear me?
Michael, do you hear?
Wait, I lost you there.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? No, lost us again. Oh dear.
Well,
Gotta
I'll tell you what my
this platform sucks shit, man. I can't hear you again. I mean, this platform fucking sucks.
take off your earphones. Sometimes
No, it's
it's
not.
the earplugs.
Yeah. Well, I guess you know.
I'll tell you what Michael is
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, and where I think Comey does have a problem also, and this is, see, a lot of the left doesn't want to admit it and doesn't want to go there. One of the things I always tell you guys, I tell you the truth. But what happened during the Russiagate thing in 2016, it was a Democratic fiasco. And that's why Donald Trump is using it, and that's why Michael keeps trying to explain to people where Comey and them have dirty hands, is because it was there collusion in the camp between certain people like Paul Manafort, like others that had relationships with Russia, yes, but the way the Democrats tried to paint it out to make it that Trump had dealings with Putin, and Michael was in Prague and using or the what's it called,
The Steele
report,
dossier.
the Steele dossier, and going to all those extremes, to the P tape, and going to all these different things to turn this whole thing into Russiagate. See, where people don't understand why Trump knows, like, when you're innocent of certain things and you're innocent, it's easy for you to go on the attack.
So, Michael,
That's
is that
why.
what you're thinking? Is that when you said dirty hands? Is for Jim Comey? Is that what you were saying?
So
Russiagate?
it's more than that. What
Tell
Trump
us. I was
knows.
just giving you
Sure.
a heads up.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, this fucking site sucks, man. Got to find something. Who owns this shit app?
Mark
Meanwhile,
Andreessen.
AirPods, by the way. But
yeah, tell him 6 fucking times that to jump off. So here's what he means. Here's what he means by James Comey is dirty hands. Donald Trump is a student of humans. He understands things better than most people. He really is instinctually that astute when it comes to reading a book, reading people. But here's something he knows instinctively, or maybe something he learned early on from Roy Cohn. Everyone has dirty hands. There is nobody walking this earth that is clean. That if somebody didn't do a proctological examination on you, that they wouldn't find something. Plain and simple. So he knows that with the right people, doing the right investigation, looking in the right areas, they will find it. Why is he attacking, as an example, Adam Schiff for mortgage fraud? Why is he attacking Tish James for mortgage fraud? Or why did he attack
mortgage fraud?
Yeah, mortgage fraud.
It's the spin the wheel. Let's see if we can come up with an indictment, and it seems to always land on mortgage fraud. I just wanted to point that out.
No. It's because mortgage fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion. These are the easiest cases to prove. You don't really have to do anything. They could indict anybody on any of those. Go ahead, Mike. Continue, please.
So imagine you're filling out a form for your credit card. And they ask you how much you earned. You earned with bonus 95 grand, but you put down 100. That's fraud. That's fraud. That's bank fraud. All right. Yep, have a nice day. 3 to 5. All right. You're doing 36 to 60 months. Just get used to it. All right. Nobody looks over every single document and then sends it to their accountant and sends it to their lawyer, who then sends it back to a CPA, LLM, right? A master's in taxation. Nobody does that. And then nobody goes, because in your mind, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to owe a single dollar to anybody. You never defaulted on anything. It doesn't matter. Bank fraud, mortgage fraud, wire fraud. And they group them all together. All right. It's like the same reason why he's got, for example, Tish James. Is my thing screwed up again?
No, you're good.
No,
Keep going.
you're good.
Holla fucking Luya. So
no, that was me. That was me. My dad called. Sorry, boys. Jimmy Blundell just called. I had to put him on mute.
No worries.
Come on, Jim. I'm having enough trouble here. The point that you make here, and it's a good one. It's everyone has dirty hands to the extent that government finds it. Rest assured, if I was still, or if Lev was still in the inner circle, I would be right now writing 500 different prosecutors to go through 1 million documents, and you just highlight anything that you think could potentially cause James Comey harm. Anything that you think, and then we'll figure it out from there. First you indict, then you find the crime, then you prosecute him on it. And that's what's going to happen here. And I believe that James Comey, like everybody else, will ultimately find himself, as will the rest of the people on Trump's enemies list. They too will find themselves tagged and bagged.
Now that enemies list is like every liberal, every Democrat, every person who's ever said anything bad about Donald Trump. Do you expect this is going to be the same process to extend far beyond these initial people that we've seen? Maybe there's 10 people on the initial hit list, but it's going to be much bigger.
No, it is.
Yeah. I mean, Dean, what's your address and your social security number? And don't think because you're a Canadian that's going to protect you. There's extradition, unless you want to move to Morocco, or Namibia.
No, I think Carney's got us. And listen, I'm not afraid, but at the same time, I'm on a fucking Substack live with two very reasonable men who have done some fucking hard time on behalf of Donald Trump. He's gone after him. He just pimped James Comey into a courthouse who has, depending on how you feel about James Comey, publicly a pretty fucking good public service record. He was the director of the FBI. I don't think he's going to be interested in guys like me, but my point is that the punishment is the process, right? Anybody that he goes after is going to have to go through this mess. And and it literally makes me like, I've got, an opportunity to go to the United States in the next, 30 to 60 days for some business, a little bit of pleasure. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, fuck. What if I get picked up? Like, what if someone goes through my tweets at the border?
No, but you're 100% true, because that's what I was talking about, the levels to answer Zev's question. I mean, there's levels of Donald Trump's not going to go after you, Dean Blundell. Donald Trump's he has his own list of going, but it's the mindset that's now going inside from the top down, from all the organization, from the federal to even the state, to the local sheriffs, to the local deputies,
to civilians in other fucking countries.
Correct. To immigration officers, to everything. It's the mentality that's being, because if you take a look how they speak, they talk about now you are unleashed. We are unleashing you. You've been leashed up. If they spit at you, you kill them. If they talk to you, you go beat them. Don't worry about, there's no repercussion. There's no oversight of you doing something. There's no more, just think about what Hexek said to the generals. There's no more writing anonymous complaints. There's no more tattletale talking about blaming it. That's it. Basically, you have to put up and deal with whatever happens. And that's the mentality that's being run all the way through.
If you want to see what Lev is talking about, perfect example, in Portland, Oregon, there was a priest that was standing there on the sidewalk protesting along with others, and the guy standing on the roof, the guy was just praying to Jesus that these people would come to their senses and stop this, when he all of a sudden gets hit in the fucking top of his head with a rubber ball from their shotgun, literally right in the top of the head, knocked him to his knees. All right, as Lev just said, they have unleashed everybody. If you spit, we will hit. I mean, and they're not just hitting, they're taking out their batons, they're putting on their tactical gloves with the steel in them, and they're punching you in the fucking jaw.
Dude, they're goading everybody into those responses, and no one's giving them that response. I don't know if you saw Anderson Cooper's vignette with Shimon Prokupez, who actually went. Caroline Levitt said, you guys should go to Portland, see the damage yourself. It's a fucking war zone. The city's burning to the fucking ground. So they go. Not only is it not a war zone, it's a dance party in front of the ICE fucking facility. And then Benny Johnson, I think that's his name, Benny Johnson, I fucking can't stand that guy either. He goes there and he takes a video and he shows one guy in a chicken suit standing in front of the ice facility. And then, you know, you've got 400 ICE agents on top of the roof. And Kristi Noem has her social media team out there literally turning, and again, not a war zone, but turning it into a set for a war zone, right? It is the goading of this. It is the inability that people have to understand that not only is this not a war zone, I put a fucking piece up about it today, it's a fucking movie set, as is Chicago. And the entire goal there is to continue to acclimate, as Lev said. And I love the fact that you brought that up. Acclimate everybody to the idea that not only is Donald Trump's, you know, federalization of troops completely necessary, but to acclimate everybody to the idea that this is the only way to fucking deal with it. And that video you're talking about, Michael, was one of the grossest displays of fucking anything I have seen when it comes to what's going on as they're trying to federalize troops in different cities. Yeah. That guy was fucking standing there and he got hit right in the top of the head. He was a priest, a pastor who was fucking praying underneath the ICE facility, not even exercising his First fucking Amendment right to free speech.
And think about the sick part. I want everybody just to think about the sick part in all of this. You saw that what happened with the priest. We saw what happened when with that ICE agent in New York City when he grabbed that lady, threw her to the ground. We saw what happened when those ICE agents grabbed those reporters and threw them to the ground out of the elevator that they ended up in the hospital. But you know what the problem is? No oversight. They're all back at work. There's nobody being punished. They're getting upgraded and promoted, folks. This is the environment where this is exactly what we're talking about. This is what we're living. This is the crazier, the harder you go, the more there. Kristi Noem, the HHS secretary, is now walking around Chicago with Benny Johnson and Nick Sorter, two right-wing influence social media with cameras, buying buildings. They're buying a building right now to expand ICE and to make sure that we're not going anywhere. We're getting bigger and stronger. We're buying huge buildings.
Gentlemen, they didn't just, they are. They didn't just, as Lev just said, take that young woman and throw her to the ground in New York. They didn't just do that, right?
Right.
They separated her from her kid. Her husband had already been detained. All she wanted was to go with him. And after they tossed her to the ground, he stood over her. The ICE agent stood over her. And what did he say to her? Do you remember? Adios.
Adios, yeah.
Adios. I mean, this isn't just, cutting somebody. This is cutting them and then throwing salt into the wound as well. It is just, it's hard to imagine that this is the United States of America in action.
Well, what he's doing is provoking conflict between Democrats and Republicans, between blue and red states. I mean, what we really are facing potentially is a civil war down the line. And this provocation keeps impacting Democrats. You had Pritzker out there today saying the president is breaching the Constitution. And the president said, we're going to arrest Pritzker. Is he going to arrest Pritzker? I mean, is that where we're heading to?
And Brandon Johnson. And to your point, if I can, Lev wrote an incredible fucking piece about this, is that I don't know if you saw Meal Team 6 get jettisoned in from Texas. A bunch of overweight National Guard guys showed up waiting to be deployed in Chicago. But Lev, kind of take us through that, because what it looks like now is Trump has willing red state National Guard people that he's asking to go and invade blue states. So it's almost as if he's pitting blue states and blue cities against red states and red cities, and he's encouraging this kind of civil unrest or civil war, for lack of a better fucking term.
That's exactly the authoritarian playbook that Putin, Xi, and all these guys. I mean, just like Michael says, Trump is he's a student of not only people, but he's a student of dictatorship, as I say it. I mean, he's learned from them, and now he's bringing it to here and what he needs. Part of it is division. Just think about it. None of his speeches. He's the only president. I mean, in my life, I'm 53 years old, and maybe there's presidents prior to it that have been like that. But from what I hear in our history of the United States, we never had presidents that spoke about only half the country. I mean, he literally, just think about what happened with Hillary Clinton when she came out and said deplorables.
Mm-hmm.
By calling just deplorables, I mean, it was like, oh my God, she just, she just isolated, she lost the race. That's it. Half the country. Donald Trump
He did
literally comes out there.
what?
Yeah, right. And Donald Trump literally comes out there every day, talks at Charlie Kirk's memorial. He came out and said that Charlie Kirk always told him to forgive and to peace. And he said, Charlie, you'd be mad at me, but I hate that left wing, them Democrats. I could never. Just think about that. Think about the division. It's all part of the plan. It's
Mm.
all part of to be able to because remember, the group that is the loudest and who he represents is the group that never had a voice. See, that's another thing people don't realize. A lot of these people that you're seeing, that the mega that you're seeing coming out, are 30% of our country that has been silent for so long because the middle was always, that's what made America so powerful and so strong, because we didn't have a far left or a far right. We had more, it didn't matter who won. You would have hard races, but once the president run, the president was for all the people. He tried to negotiate. Yes, you had lockdowns. Yes, but never to such a degree where there was a divisive nature, where it was us against them. And that is what's happening in our country. We're becoming like, competitive, like the Roman era, like just like the Romans used to do it, where you would pit, where you would make different type of levels, where he makes the Republicans on a higher level. They're smarter, they're richer. The Democrats are poorer, they're crazy, they're radical. Just it's the same language. It's and people in those parties start feeling themselves. That's why you have all these right wing and mega grabbing the flag or grabbing the word patriot, or think that they're higher than Democrats, think they're higher than you because that's what Trump says, because
Yep.
they're radical, and it's becoming, it's like a brainwashing that's happening in
And
all
just
of
a
society.
fucking master stroke to start a culture war so that they continue the class war against Americans. Like a
Yeah,
fucking master stroke.
but the reason that MAGA stayed quiet for so long is because they were embarrassed. They were embarrassed that they basically have 3 teeth and 4 brain cells. And so they did what anyone with 3 teeth and 4 brain cells should do.
Fucking
Go
love
back
Michael
into
Cohen.
go fuck yourself, and go hide in your daddy's garage or in your basement, right? And take your racist, sexist, misogynistic, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic bullshit somewhere else. But all of a sudden, Lev is right. Trump opened up a Pandora's box to these people. We referred to them in 2015, 2016 as the silent majority. Motherfuckers are a silent majority. And that's a big problem. And right now, they feel empowered. They feel empowered to do whatever they want. You're Hispanic, you're a migrant. They feel that they have the right to punch you in the fucking head, literally hold you to the ground, and then collect $1,000. I don't know if you saw this. They want to now empower
Bounties. Yeah.
bounties on, and they're putting out the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and saying, for every migrant that you bring to us, we will give you $1,000. I mean, this is crazy shit. Even Dog the Bounty Hunter doesn't make that kind of money.
Is there a little piece of you that this is retribution for Donald Trump arresting Jim Comey, arraigning him? Is there a piece of you that you guys feel like, what, good, maybe Jim Comey should go to jail because we went to jail?
I think a big piece. Yeah, Michael.
Oh, 100%. I despise James Comey. I despise him because he knew that the Steele dossier was nothing but a pile of dog shit, especially as it related to me. I am the most referenced person in the Steele dossier, with 11 allegations raised against me, none of which are true. But God forbid the fucking media would have gotten it right. And the reason they didn't get it right is because James Comey and the FBI refused to come out and say, we know for a fact that Cohen was not in Prague. We know that he's never been there. In fact, on the days that they claimed that I was in Prague, in fact, I was at USC with my son, who was trying out for the baseball team. He's a lefty pitcher, and we had a tryout. They said, "Yeah, well, maybe we got the day off. Where were you the next day?" Motherfucker, we were with Harvey Levin on set at TMZ at his new studio. So, it's just not true. 11 allegations, but Comey received that file from John McCain. And after he found nothing, instead of coming out and saying this investigation is going nowhere because Cohen never went to Czech Republic. He never went to Prague. He has no relationship to Russia, no compromise, no 10 million to pay for Paul Manafort. I wouldn't pay 10 cents for Paul Manafort, let alone 10 million, right? I mean, the whole thing was pure nonsense. I don't own a dacha next door in Sochi to Vladimir Putin. I've never been to Russia. I mean, the whole thing is just stupid. What did he do?
But you were involved
He
in
gave it-
the Trump Tower Moscow effort, right, during the election period.
But I never went there. We signed it. We signed an LOI. I never went there because the people who we were doing the business deal with never were able to produce to me three important things. One, that they owned or they controlled the land. Two, that they had the permits within which to develop the lot to the size that we wanted it. And the third is that they had financing for it. So why am I running off to Russia? I don't want to go to Russia. I would go if, in fact, they had all three, but they never had it. And so we never went. So, the whole thing was just bullshit and the lies that came out of it. So what does Comey then do? Comey gives it to Andrew Weissman. Weissman turns it over to Jeffrey Berman, that piece of shit. And then Berman then recuses himself, even though he's in contact and communication with Bill Barr during the entire time, despite the fact he recused himself and refuses to go ahead and to tell us what he's doing, doesn't disclose he's in conversation with the White House, with the DOJ. Instead, he decides he's going to put that information out when he publishes his book. Right, because that's justice. So you know what, James Comey, you are part of the system that's fucking flawed. And you know what? Being that you are a big part of that flawed system, unfortunately, payback's a bitch, motherfucker.
And that is an incredible way to wrap this up, because the irony here, which I wrote about, we talked about it earlier, Michael, such a fucking incredible layout of why you think his hands are dirty, very personal experience. But, James Comey is now on the receiving end of something that he militarized for years. James Comey is now on the other side of this docket. And if you think for a second, you can say James Comey's an incredible prosecutor. You could say he's a public servant. Great. But James Comey has made a bunch of missteps. And if you think for a second, to Lev's point, that there isn't something in the DOJ that the Trump DOJ, even though it's literally lined with fucking morons and ambulance chasing lawyers and podcasters like Kash Patel, if you don't think they're not going to turn over absolutely every fucking stone to try to figure out whether or not they can get something else on this man at this point because of how important it is to set this precedent right now, you're fucking crazy.
And don't underestimate them. But forget about who. Believe me, there's still thousands of people in the DOJ and FBI that are loyal and believe in Trump and that have stayed there. Remember, they purged. They didn't get rid of everybody. They got rid of everybody that was against them. They have left everybody. So there's plenty of people. And that's why, like Michael said, you're not going to see her on the Trump's personal attorney running the show. She might be signing paper. You're going to see a team put together. They're going to go after. You're going to see top-notch, looking FBI agents and looking into Comey and agents. And this is the whole thing you got to understand, because now you have people that are looking into him that know where to look. You know what I'm saying to you? This is Comey right now. He could put on a brave face. He could talk around, and he should. It is what it is. And the fact that Trump is doing what he's doing, and making Comey the scapegoat, that's where again, like Michael says, I'm going to agree on this 100%. He knows how to do it. He knows Comey's not liked by both sides, but he's forcing right now the Democrats to defend Comey, even though they hate Comey for what he did to them with Hillary Clinton. But he is now forcing them to defend Comey. And now when he comes out and finds some dirt on Comey all of a sudden, who's going to look bad? the Democrats. Why?
Yep.
Because here they are defending this guy. This guy, like, he's gonna say, "What? You see, I told you he was crooked. I told you." And this is all part of the setup that Trump is part of the game. It's part of, like, we call it,
Do you know how
theatrics. It's
damaging?
like,
You know how damaging it would be to find out that RussiaGate was a hoax, right? Like to
Why?
the Democrats. Well, like literally, they've
Wasn't.
dined out on that for 10 fucking years, Michael. Right?
Yeah,
Like
trust me, I know.
but see, but but guys, but see, this is the problem. See, like with everything else that has to do with that, see, the Russia Gate as a whole was a hoax because
It was.
because 70 or 60 or whatever the percentage of information was a lot of bullshit. But there was people in the Trump, like Paul Manafort, giving Kalimnik information. We're getting money from the Russians, working that and being Trump's manager. That was true.
Yeah.
Why not? This is why we always talk about concentrate on the facts. Don't go off into these wild stories. Why do you need to go into a P tape? How is a P tape more important than the fact that his manager is giving
Right.
information, polling information to the Russians through the KGB and all of that? How could a P tape be more important than that? But that's what they made it. They made it seem, and that's why Trump is using it, because he knows it.
And it might take Comey down. Who knows? What an incredibly historic day.
Not. By the way, let's not minimize the importance of that P tape if there is one. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Just letting you know.
I tell you,
if anybody's going to find it, it's going to be Lev, because Lev managed to find the Hunter Biden tape, so he'll find anything on anybody else.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
He actually, you know, I don't know if you know this, but he actually taped over his wedding tape of the Hunter Biden tape just so that he has a fresh copy.
Little VHS, one of those old handhelds.
Good friend.
He's got it on the thumb drive, on DVD. He's got the whole collection.
Boys, a great place to end this off, to let you all go be with your families, go run people around to doctor's appointments, basketball practice, baseball practice. Lev has 1,000 kids and an entire zoo at his house, so he's probably got to go figure that out. I want to thank you, Michael, and I want to thank you, Lev. You know, today you guys have done so much incredible work, and the insight that you've given people, not just our audience, but all new audiences. When it comes to the tangible fucking fear that's going through James Comey right now because you've lived it, there are a handful of fucking people that can talk about it like the way you guys do, in an honest, authentic, vulnerable way, in an entertaining way. Guys, this has been one of my favorite Substack live hours that I've done, and I've done a few of them.
I wish I could say the same. This app still sucks. I'm still fucking frozen.
You gotta call the tech guy.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But I would encourage everybody that is here today. Listen, Michael and Lev have put their money and time on the line. Michael and Lev are two of the best truth tellers here. Michael and Lev are fearless. Michael and Lev are two very fucking bright stars in a really shitty tyrannical sky right now. And I would encourage everybody, I mean everybody, to, as I say all the time, run, not walk, go and subscribe. Paid subscriptions are a godsend for everybody that is trying to do this work. Paid subscriptions not only keep us motivated, keep you moving forward, but they give us the ability, the time, the space, the gap to be able to do this for you and with you, because we are you. Every single person on this call has been affected the same way you have been affected. The negativity, some people more than others. We've got a couple of guys that have done time for it. But you guys are too, and I believe this to be true, American heroes. And I believe at the end of the day, you will both be vindicated. At the end of the day, both of you guys are going to be standing with your chest out going, I fucking told you so, while lighting a massive cigar. Remembering these.
I told you all it was a fucking hoax. Quite frankly, it was the worst hoax of all.
Now we know. It's so great to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much to Michael. And
thanks for doing this.
Thank you, guys.
To connect. And I'll be back at 5 with Vicky Ward. So we'll see you then.
Say hi to
Vicky,
Vicky. She's the best.
Say hi, Vicky. Yeah, say hi, Vicky, from me also. By the way, we're gonna be able to send this out to everybody, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right after this. So
all right.
As soon as this is done, we'll make sure it gets up on both of our feeds. I'll make sure we connect with you guys, and we'll round the bases with a phone call in the next couple of hours, or at least tomorrow. But guys, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
You got it.
Take care, guys.
Take care.